Okay, we are live. Good evening. This is Attorney Vincent Davis, and this is The Secret: How to Fight CPS and Win. I'm joined by my two lovely co-hosts, Miss G, Miss Georgette Truant, and Miss Cassandra Woodard. Miss G, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, thank you.
And Miss Cassandra, how are you this evening?
I'm doing well.
Good, good, good. And I see we're joined by a very special guest, and I hope I pronounce it right. Libiana Love. Am I saying that right?
That's correct.
Well, good evening, Miss Love. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good.
Um, so I assume that you are or have some connection with CPS in some state here in our country. Is that accurate?
Yes, in California, in Burbank.
Oh,
Well, I'm in Burbank, California.
oh, so you have a case in Los Angeles County.
Yes.
Is it ongoing?
Um, I don't know because it still hasn't really passed the investigation stage, really.
Oh, so you haven't even been to court then?
No, I've been to court. Like they just, it's pending trial. Like the last time I went was Tuesday, and they said they just want to ask the kids a little more questions before they make any decisions.
Are the kids with you or not with you?
No, they were taking because I went to jail, so I didn't have nobody for them to go with, so automatically they was taken. So, but I don't have no order just yet, but they are not here.
Have you been to court at least one time?
I've been no, three times.
Okay.
I,
Well,
I
it
think
sounds
two
like
times.
you sounds like you're heading to a trial, what they call a
Yes, I have a trial.
jurisdictional and dispositional hearing. Okay. So, you're very young in the process, so to speak. Have you had any complaints or concerns about your rights, how you've been treated?
Yeah, like are they able to have them like that, even though I still have rights to the kids, and there's no real um. Okay.
It's
Well,
crazy, isn't it? It's crazy.
yeah.
When I first heard of CPS, DCFS in Los Angeles County, another attorney told me, "Oh, that's where they take kids away from parents." Now, at the time, I was like a 3-year attorney, and I said, I told him, I said, Mike, are you sure you got that right? I said it's unconstitutional to take kids away from their parents. I said, well, so what are you talking about? They do it all the time. Yeah, they can do it. They have the right to do it. They have the power to do it. Now, whether they have a righteous case against you and can keep the kids away from you, that's a whole nother story,
Okay.
whole nother discussion. But, I haven't seen your paperwork, I haven't seen your file, but I'm assuming that a judge in Monterey Park or Lancaster, wherever you are, has made a determination that your kid should be detained from you. And, that's his or her determination. Um, I don't know if I would agree with it or not agree with it because I haven't seen the paperwork or the evidence. But I know you are heading for a trial, so I hope you and your attorney are getting ready for that trial.
Yeah, honestly, it seems like my appointed attorney, he has a whole plan that he thinks of before the court starts, and then he doesn't go follow through once it start with everything that he said. So
Well, your trial is coming up, so we're going to see whether or not, or you're going to see whether or not he's going to implement his strategy and his plan that's going to help you, right?
I'm scared because he said some very important things that he was going to do one of those trials, and one of those court dates, and he said you have to be okay with us delaying it for 1 week since they just threw this information on you about my kid's dad, which is in Atlanta, Georgia, and he didn't even mention that when we got to court. So I'm kind of scared to let it get that far.
Okay.
Yeah.
You lost me on that one.
So yeah, the situation actually got worse after they did their investigation. The concerns wasn't as big as it gotten after they looked into my past with my kid's dad. Um, which is in Atlanta, Georgia. And I left Atlanta, Georgia to get away from him because he was like hurting me, and it wasn't safe to be there with him, and I had to end that somehow. And so they dug into that past, and it's not a lot. It's not really looking good because it looks like I was with somebody who was abusive, which it was hard to get out of, which is why I'm here. So
Well, if you, in my opinion, if you left that abusive relationship, they shouldn't be able to use it against you. I don't know all the evidence, but it seemed to me that you took care of that problem and came here.
yeah, but they're trying to question that because it wasn't. It didn't. I don't look all innocent because I got sent to jail, but I got sent to jail for hitting his phone. But they see it as I sent to jail. I got sent to jail. They don't know the deep details of that. That it's just him hitting his phone. So they're like, "Are you the aggressor?"
Well, how long ago did this happen?
That was in 2018 when I got arrested.
Well, here's the problem, and I always bring this up, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But you were taking the kids just care of the kids just along fine. How can they use something in 2018? It's 2023. That was 5 years ago.
No.
Is there still evidence of that now? I mean, I, you don't have to talk about the allegations if you don't want to. Although one of the viewers wanted to know what they're charging you with. You know, there has to be what they call a nexus right now to the past. And if there's no nexus or connection, they're not supposed to be able to use that against you. Now, what constitutes a nexus? Well, it's different in every case. And it's also different probably among most judges. They have their own opinions about things. And, depending on who your judge is, you might become more parent oriented or more, CPS oriented. So it just depends, and I don't want you to mention any names, but these are some things that you should discuss with your attorney. At least he's talking to you. I get a lot of calls. Hey, my court appointed attorney won't call me back. I haven't talked to him or her since we were at court. Blah 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 blah. At least you're talking to your attorney, and hopefully that will continue. But here are some things that you should consider and perhaps talk with your attorney about. And that's number one. Are your kids with relatives or a family friend?
No, I don't have. No, I didn't have family here.
Well,
I
wait a minute.
recently
Wait a
found.
minute. Wait. I ask you if your kids are with family or friends. Now,
No,
I didn't
they
say
live
where they
across the
are.
home.
Okay. So the family or friends can be anywhere in the world, right?
Yeah, they have to have a house though.
No. I mean, well, they have to be living someplace, renting or owning or whatever, right? And do you have relatives that might be able to, you don't have to answer this, that might be able to take care of the kids? Do you have friends that might be able to take the kids? People at work, people at the church, people that you grew up with.
No, I'm kind of a loner.
Now, Miss Love, I'm going to tell you something because sometimes clients tell me that. Are you telling me you can't make a list of 25 people that might be able to take care of the kids and they can live anywhere in the world? What if I was to give you $25 million if you could come up with 25 names? You think you could come up with it?
I
Yeah,
just no,
that's
I don't think so.
okay. Well, you're gonna miss out on that 25 million then.
Yeah, my dad is the only person I talk to really, and he doesn't have a place at all
Where
for
is he? Where
kids
is
in Atlanta, Georgia.
okay. Well, are they accusing you of, because I'm looking at you, I'm talking to you, you seem like a normal person, a mom that was trying to take care of her kids and cares about her kids. Are you uncomfortable telling us what they're charging you with or what they're accusing you of?
Yeah, they're trying to connect. Because what I'm accused of is my boyfriend told the police that I hit him. So they're trying to see if I'm the aggressor, and that's why they connected the past when I got arrested to now to whether I'm really the aggressor. Because he changed it to the social worker and said, no, she didn't hit me, but they're looking at the fact that why did she get arrested in the first place for hitting? So
Well, you might have got arrested because he lied to the police. Is he willing to? Have you talked to your attorney? Is that boyfriend willing to come to court and say, "Hey, you know what? She really didn't hit me." Is he willing to do that?
I know he's willing to do that.
He is.
He is.
Okay. So you got to talk to your attorney and make sure your attorney subpoenas him to court.
Oh well, I asked him. He said he's not the biggest issue.
Well, are they charging you with something else?
Yes, other things. Can I just read the paper?
Well, I prefer you kind of summarize it. It's 'cause
Okay.
it's, kind of confidential.
Okay. So yeah. So the other thing I'm accused of is because the argument started in a Golden Corral restaurant. So I asked the kids. I told the kids I'll be back real quick while we were in front of the register. And I told him I'll be back real quick as I go back outside because he left out the restaurant while I was at the register. But I brought my 3-year-old, but I didn't bring my 7 and 6-year-old. But I went out, talked to him, but he jerked the car. But he was in a parking spot. I didn't know he was going to do that, so I had no intention of that. And he was in a parking spot in front of the restaurant. So I went back inside and I paid for the food and we ate. But and my friend Alice, she was looking at them from a distance, but the kids didn't notice her. So they're just charging me of failure to protect.
Okay, that's in my opinion a very minimal thing. Remember, and talk to your attorney about this. The trial that you're heading for is 2 parts, 2 very distinct parts. The first one is called the jurisdictional hearing. Okay, and they have to prove by a preponderance of evidence based upon these current and old facts whether you are a risk to the children. Okay? From what you're telling me, it doesn't sound like that, but I don't know all of the evidence. But let's say you lose part of or all of the jurisdictional hearing. Then you go to the second hearing, and it's all wrapped up into one in LA County in most courts. They have to prove at the disposition hearing that by clear and convincing evidence that you are a substantial danger, not danger, that you are a substantial danger, plus they have to prove by clear and convincing evidence that you are that there are no less restrictive alternatives. Okay? Now, one of the things I've done in the past is to help prove that there are less restrictive alternatives. Sometimes I subpoena in the worker for DCFS who's most knowledgeable about family preservation services. And those are services that CPS can offer you to keep your family together. Now, it's the weirdest thing, but over the years, they get, tons of money from the federal government, it's my understanding, to give family preservation services. But I could count on 1 or 2 hands the number of times I hear someone say, CPS is going to voluntarily give you family reunification services. So, the judge is making the decision without any evidence that there are less restrictive alternatives. But if you and your attorney bring in the social worker who's most knowledgeable about family preservation services, you can put him or her on the witness stand and say, hey, here's the petition, here's the facts. What services can you offer to keep this family together? Now, you would think that the social worker's attorney would talk to this witness, and try to maybe not, I don't want to say downplay or lie, but, the last time I did this was in another county. And I put the social worker on the stand, and she couldn't wait to sing like a bird to tell us and to tell the judge all the less restrictive alternatives that could be done. And after she testified, it was like the judge's questions were like, well, how come the social worker didn't tell me any of this? Why did Mr. Davis have to bring some strange social worker into court to tell me that there are a lot of less restrictive alternatives? Right? So that's another thing that you might want to talk to your lawyer about. The disposition hearing, that second hearing that you're doing all at one time at your next court date is the most important hearing in the entire juvenile dependency scheme. Okay? Because you will never have the advantage like you do at the disposition hearing after that date in the rest of the case. Okay? Because at that time, they have to prove by clear and convincing evidence, which is a higher burden than preponderance. And they have to prove that you're a substantial danger. My God, you'd have to be some kind of reckless maniac to be a substantial danger. A lot of times in these cases, people just, they just skip over that part. I even had, this is a few years ago, I even had a very experienced county counsel argue to the judge that what I was telling the judge was incorrect about clear and convincing evidence and substantial danger. I never could figure out if she just didn't know or if she was trying to pull the wool over her eyes. And finally, I said she was arguing that it was preponderance and all the judge had to do was find a risk, a substantial risk, which is different from a substantial danger. And I remember because the judge was kind of new, not really, but she, there was a code section sitting on the desk, like there are in most of the courtrooms in Monterey Park. And I opened it up and I read it to her. She pulled out her code and read it. She stood up and she walked off the bench. Now, I don't know where she went. She took a break, which she's entitled to do. She came back, maybe 10 minutes later and ruled that Mr. Davis was correct. But the look that she gave the county counsel, I interpreted it to be, my God, you've been misleading me all of this time. You've been citing the wrong law. Now, that may not have been the, what she meant or intended. That's just the feeling I got. Right? So a lot of people don't realize clear and convincing evidence, substantial danger, and no less restrictive alternatives. If you really analyze that, in most cases where the person or the parent hasn't affirmatively injured the child, that's pretty hard to prove. Not impossible, but pretty hard to prove. And if the court rules against you, you might have a very good appeal, on that. And there are some cases that come out in the last couple of years that talk about what I'm telling you. And I'm sure your attorney knows that because he or she is court appointed in LA County. And, presumably they have training and they know, what's going on with the law. So that's one thing I would definitely talk to your court appointed attorney about. Okay.
It sounds like he assumes I'm gonna get 8 months without a long time without my kids.
Why is that?
Because he feels like if someone don't testify that they were there to see my kids while I went out real quick, then that will be the cause.
Well, this is my humble opinion, and I may be wrong. I'm not a judge. I don't care if you ran out to the car to argue with your boyfriend. The question becomes, is that act several months ago, does that constitute you being a substantial danger today or at the time of the trial? And in my humble opinion, the answer is no. What you might have done was a mistake, might have been stupid, might have been bad, but does that make you a substantial danger to these kids? No. And heaven forbid you've gotten into a parenting class and you've learned some shit and got into counseling, what you did was wrong. How can the judge rule against you? I don't know the whole case, but that's what I'd be thinking. And don't forget, they still have to prove no less restrictive alternatives by clear and convincing evidence. In your case, I can think of a lot of less restrictive alternatives. Let me give you one that a lot of people don't even think about. And it's easy when the grandparent is in town. Have your father come live with you so he can be the eyes and ears of the judge and the social worker when the kids are returned home.
Oh,
There's a less There's a less restrictive alternative for you that nobody ever thinks about.
I hope he's looking at this. I think he's looking at this.
Okay. Well, talk to him. Tell him to come out. Tell him to come to court, get on the stand, and testify, and say, I moved in with my daughter. So, Judge, if you return the kids to me, I'll watch them like a hawk. I'll make sure that my daughter doesn't do anything stupid like that again.
Oh, wow. I could do that.
That's an easy, less restrictive alternative. And it always helps if you've been in counseling, if you've started your parenting classes, you're kind of educating yourself to give that judge comfort.
I've started all that already.
Good. And
Everything.
then you need to testify. And, one of the things that I see a lot all over California is people have trials, but they don't present any witnesses or any evidence. And since attorney argument is not considered evidence, if that's the kind of trial you have, you're going to lose. Because the only real evidence against you will be the social worker's report, and you won't have any evidence to go against it. You didn't get on the witness stand. You didn't cross-examine the social worker. You didn't put your father on the witness stand. You didn't put your parenting instructor or your counselor on the witness stand. You get the picture?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So those are the things that you should be talking to your lawyer about. Now, let me say something, because I don't want to mislead you. I don't know about your case. I haven't read anything about your case. And your attorney, there may be things that I'm talking about that may not be advantageous to you because of the procedural posture or the evidence in your case. Okay?
Well, I know they don't have no evidence. It's all statements.
Yeah. But you get the point. Talk to your lawyer about it. You should guys come up with a plan, a strategy, and implement the strategy. And I'm telling you right now, if you plan on winning, you better have some witnesses.
Oh,
Get on
okay.
the stand and testify.
Oh, okay. Wait, witnesses of who watched the kids?
No. Witnesses about whether the allegations are true or false. Witnesses about whether you are a substantial danger to the child or not. Parenting instructor, your counselor. Your counselor could easily come in and say, Miss Love is all right, copacetic. I don't have any problem or fears about returning the kids to her.
They can say that for me?
It depends. It depends on how much they've counseled with you. If it depends on how, they have they had enough information to draw a conclusion like that. The other thing that you can do, and I know an attorney who does this a lot, you can get an expert to give you an evaluation, a psychological evaluation, to come in and tell the judge you don't have any mental or emotional problems and you're cool with the kids. He wouldn't or she wouldn't have any reason to fear the kids being returned to you. Okay? And that person usually is some kind of PhD, a psychologist who's given you that evaluation.
So I can just get that anywhere that people do that.
Right. But you got to talk to your attorney, make sure you do it the right way.
Oh.
And there has to be, not has to be, but there's going to be a report that needs to be, introduced into evidence. And if the psychologist's testimony is going to be taken or the report's going to be taken, he or she may have to come into court, get on the stand, swear to tell the truth, and answer questions by all the attorneys and the judge.
Oh, wow. So I don't need no witnesses from the restaurant. I just need witnesses from other stuff.
Well, I don't want you to make any admissions that's going to hurt your case, but if you left the kids in the restaurant by themselves, that's a problem. Now, does it rise to the level of you shouldn't get your kids back now? I don't think so. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But, so who's going to say anything important at the restaurant? Did you leave the kids alone? They got a video. You don't have to tell me, but tell your lawyer. Well, that's true or that's not true. And then you can, bring in witnesses if you need. Sometimes, I've had cases similar to that. And, the parent has said to the cashier or to one of the other patrons, hey, watch my 2 kids. I'll be right back. Okay, cool. That's not a problem. That's not child abuse, in my opinion. Right? But most of these cases are won in the dispositional phase. And that's what I was telling you about the clear and convincing evidence. And that's the part I think you should be talking to your attorney about. Now, your attorney might have completely different ideas than what I'm telling you, right?
Yeah.
And
I, I,
since he or she is more familiar with the case, you probably need to follow their advice. But
yeah.
I'm just giving you general information, okay, about things or issues you need to spot and to discuss with your attorney. And also, I'm doing this for other people that are viewing this now
Yeah.
and will view it in the future on, 7 or 8 different social media sites. So don't, in other words, don't bet the house on what I'm saying. Talk to your lawyer.
Yeah, he honestly feels really good about everything. It's just he feels like that's a big thing getting my friend to testify. Without her, he feels like I have no chance. But he feels like they should come home. That's what he really feels.
Okay, good. Well, talk to your friend, your ex-boyfriend, about coming to court to testify. Now, if I'm the judge, here's one of the things I'm concerned about. You had a relationship with this man. Apparently, there was some kind of, you know, something between the two of you. I'd want to know: are you still seeing him? Are you still contacting him? And if you're not, that's good for me as the judge. It gives me a better feeling than if you say, "Hey, I'm still seeing him."
No.
Georgette, Miss G and I talked to someone this afternoon, late afternoon. And Miss G, I don't know if you saw this, but a client sent us a report. And I was reading the report and we called her back. And one of the big things the social worker made out in the report is the mother's still with this loser of a father, this loser of a guy. It wasn't her husband, I don't think it was her boyfriend. And they were making a big thing against that, like we're going to use that to pound over her head to, keep the kids away from the mother. So I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just here trying to tell you the issues to look at to try to spot when you're trying to win a case. Okay, Miss G, did you have something to say?
Yeah. Um, he's a good guy. I know who you're talking about. He's actually a good father. He's a loving father. The only thing CPS is judging him for is, first of all, they make allegations. Not whatever they write down is 100% false. And the reason they don't like him is because he speaks really fast. He's the kind of man that speaks really fast. And I used to work with people like that. They're really really fast, and that doesn't mean they're bad human beings. Doesn't mean they're bad parents. But you have to understand. You look like you're young. You're a young lady, and you're naive to life. Am I right or wrong? You're kind of
I,
like you're naive to the world right now. Am I right?
I, I'd be naive on accident. Yeah.
Well, you are naive to the fact that people don't understand that life happens. Life happens. It happens. People make mistakes. People, you know, do something wrong one time in their lives, but they're held accountable for it for the rest of their life by using their children. That's the bottom line. They know that you're gullible. They know that you're naive. They know this, and they're taking advantage of you. Davis made a point earlier about the opposing counsel in CPS court when she took a break and she came back, looked at the whatever social workers or whatever the hell she was looking at, and she was giving them the eye that, hey, you did not give me the right information. That's what Davis thought. That's what she was thinking. My opinion is she's telling them we got caught, motherfuckers. That's exactly what she said. But he looked at it,
Wow.
his assumption was completely different than what I would look at it, how I would look at it. Because they knew what they're doing. She knew what she was doing. And her role is to mislead the court, mislead you as a client or whoever. Because oftentimes you're supposed to have evidence and you're supposed to have witnesses, but guess what? There's no witnesses. But what do they tell you? Your court appointed attorney goes, oh, yeah, we got witnesses. And all of a sudden, no witnesses showed up. And then you contact those witnesses and they tell you we never received, right, any information to go to court. So they're giving you guys breadcrumbs. And I'm not sure why Attorney Davis and I keep saying that to him, but he thinks like an attorney. I don't. They're deceiving. There is no one good attorney, juvenile dependency attorneys in these courts. There's not one. Not one. If there was, there wouldn't be over 300,000 children in the system from all over the United States.
Hard to argue with you, Miss G.
So if there was a lot of winning cases, we would see proof of that. We would see evidence of that. It would be facts. It would show on the fucking media everywhere. But instead, we see nothing but trauma, children being lost, children being accused, children being traumatized. Parents are fucking jailed for shit they didn't do. And mothers calling the police department for help, and then they hold the mother accountable for calling for help. Then what the hell is the system for? Why would the mother be held accountable failing to protect if the mother called the police department to save her and her children?
Miss Cassandra, did you have something you wanted to add?
Whew.
Or if you try to move halfway across the country to get away from them, right?
They don't believe me though. They're trying to figure out if I'm telling the truth.
That's crazy. That they bring up everything from your past. Don't be surprised on that.
Yeah.
They will. And they would bring things like you did when you were 15 or 16. There was a client, I will never forget him. I love that guy. He was in Ohio. No, sorry, it wasn't a client. It was a potential client. And he said to me, he said, Ms. G, I stole, what did he steal? He stole something from the store. It was something about Pokemon or something like that. He was 15 years old. He was arrested to teach him a lesson, as a young kid. They let him go, but it still shows on his record. CPS held it against him. And he's actually 62. But he can't have placement of his grandchild because of that record.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
He's a kid.
Remember, he was 15. He's 62 as of last year when I spoke to him.
That's crazy.
But they held that against him. And I think it wasn't like a misdemeanor, I don't know, something like that. But it showed on his record. And I kept huffing and puffing and trying to, ask Davis. And it was a big deal last year for me. That guy touched my heart because he's like, I'm a grandpa. I love my grandson. I want to see my grandson. And my daughter called the police because my son-in-law, was violent towards her. And they took the child from both of them. So this is I'm giving you an example, honey. It's everywhere. If you're not smart enough, put on your thinking hat, put on the armor of God. If you're Christian, if you're not, just put on a fucking armor and get to war. You need to lawyer up. You need to grow balls. I'm being serious with you when I say this. Grow some balls. Fight for your kids. Do not let them have power over you. I don't care if you have to go door to door to ask for help financially. I know you're struggling. We've all been there. I get it. But don't ever stop. Don't stop. And I tell this to everyone. They want all mothers to be in a situation, in a position where they give up. And oftentimes I see mothers do give up. They do. So don't do it. You need to let your child know you're fighting for them. And I'm being honest with you. Don't listen to the social workers. Don't ever think they're telling you the truth. They're not telling you the truth. Whatever they say to you, it's opposite of what they say. Remember this. Your court-appointed attorney is number one fool and a coward because they are little cowards running after social workers like pussycats. Okay? That's exactly what they do. So please, I'm begging you, talk to your father, talk to someone, you're local. Call the office. The number is right underneath Cassandra. Call the office and please ask for me. I will guide you. I will be there for you. Just ask for me. If I have to talk to your father, I will talk to your dad. Just please, I'm begging you, do not give up on your child. Okay?
I
Miss
won't.
Love, Miss Love,
Yes.
did you have any questions you wanted to specifically ask me this evening?
I think I had a list. Let me see. Give me just 1 second. Sorry. Is that right? Can I still change it? Can I find a motion to respond to everything they lied about on the report? Because they did a lot of lying just to try to prove a case.
Right. It's not called a motion. You can file a response, like a response declaration, but it's not going to be as effective as you getting on the witness stand and
Oh.
testifying page by page, line by line.
Oh.
But this is something you should definitely speak to your attorney about.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Okay. Now, Miss Love, I've been a lawyer 35 years. Okay. 35 years. I've done hundreds, if not thousands, of these dependency cases myself or in my firm. All right. I don't think you have what I would call a case that you should be worried about. I don't think that. Now, I don't know about your case.
I found this on the
I,
web.
I haven't read anything in your case, but you know, talk to your attorney, try to work with your attorney. If you cannot work with your attorney, then do what Miss G is recommending. All
You're
right.
not going to be able to work with your attorney. You'll call me.
Yeah, it's
You'll call
hard
me.
to tell
Yeah, I know.
them.
I
Okay.
know.
But Miss Love, I don't know anything about your relationship with your attorney. I don't know. But I do know your case is coming up for trial.
Yes.
So whatever you're going to do, you better do it fast. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Miss Love, I want to thank you very much for being on our show this evening and sharing your story. I really appreciate it. And depending on what happens, please keep us posted on your outcomes and what's going on. Maybe we can even have you back and you can tell our audience what went on in your case, what went on in your trial, and compared to the things that I've mentioned this evening. Okay.
Okay. Thank you for having
Thank you, Miss
me.
Love. Good night. Ooh, what happened to the? Oh, there we go. What happened to the cameras there? Well, Miss Cassandra, what are you smiling about?
Nothing.
Nothing. Just,
I'm just
just,
happy.
just happy to be here.
Just happy to be here, Mr. Davis.
Can, can you spill some of that into over to Miss G?
Trying to. Hey,
Spill that. Spill,
Miss G.
spill some of that happiness over to Miss G.
Hi.
Hi, baby.
You know you want to smile.
Hmm.
See, there we go.
Miss G, before we no, Miss Cassandra, before we end the show tonight, did you have any questions? Or Miss G, did you have any questions?
Mm-mm. Except you shouldn't tell people, in my opinion, not that I'm telling you what to do or anything like that, but
Oh, please, I'm
um,
always open to your opinion and what you have to say.
right, right,
Doesn't mean that I agree with it, but
right,
if you if you
right,
if you have an opinion,
right.
shoot it out there so I
Hmm.
can shoot it down. No, go ahead.
So I don't think that people need to hear that their court appointed attorney is, like work with your court appointed attorney, because they
Well,
have.
let me tell you
Let me
something.
finish though. No, no, no. Let me
Yeah,
finish though. You asked me to
okay.
say it. I'm saying it.
Okay.
So, first of all, 36 years being an attorney, you know damn well that the court appointed attorneys do not help. And you know damn well that it changed throughout the years since you became an attorney. It changed completely. It took a complete different turn. The attorneys don't fight for their clients. The attorneys always think their clients are guilty. And they always tell them to follow the guidelines of the social workers. And you know darn well that they actually are trained to do that, because the reason they give people a free attorney, there's always a fast one and a cause for a free attorney. Always. Anything that's free, there's always a motive behind it. They're not going to force their independent attorney that they paid money to follow the guidelines of the social workers, right? Because that private attorney will say, I want to be present when you're talking to my client. The court-appointed attorney is going to say, nope, talk to the client. Talk to my client. I don't need to be present. So you understand the point I'm trying to make?
I do, but there's something important that I want to tell you, and I want you to keep this in mind. Everyone, including Miss Love, doesn't have this extra money to afford a private attorney. Okay? Let's be realistic. So instead of telling them you're going to lose no matter what, I'm trying to tell people how to work with the situation they're in. Okay? Because let's face it, private attorneys charge money, a lot of money sometimes, depending on the case. But if the person can't afford it, really can't afford it, what are they going to do? They're going to have to be forced to work with their court-appointed attorney. And I want to give people some information, help them spot issues so that they can address these with their court-appointed attorney. Because if I don't tell them that, they're just in a really bad situation.
I understand that. I get it. But I don't know. I just don't believe them. I don't believe that they're helping them. And I don't know. I don't sugarcoat anything. I don't. I just say it. I don't.
You know what I think? I think that all of our opinions as human beings are based upon our experiences.
It's based on a lot of things. It's based on records. There's facts out there that stipulate.
Hold on a second. Now, having known you when you went through the system, you had a very bad experience. Okay? Very bad experience. So I understand why you say the things that you do.
But also the same people I speak with also had the same experience. So it wasn't just one person, Davis.
But here's the thing. People that are having decent experiences don't call us. We only get the extreme versions. So, I don't know if you've ever taken like a statistics class or whatever. It's the sample population you're drawing from. People that are having great experiences, they're not calling us because they don't need us. And that's probably a large percentage of the cases.
The people that don't call us, that don't need us, they have connections with the system. Either they're screwing one that works there or they marry one that works there. Okay? So either way, these people have connections. That's why they don't call us. That's why they don't need us. But it's not true for the ones that don't have the connections with the system. No involvement with the system. So therefore, the statistics show that there's more children, over 356,000 children are in the system. And without unfounded, like literally no evidence of anything the social worker wrote down. And the judges, why are judges getting arrested nowadays? Why are judges owning group homes? Why? One judge in LA County, Monterey Park, he was all over the news. He owns 5 different foster homes. 5 group homes, in Orange County, LA County, San Diego, San Bernardino. So all the cases that he takes, they go there. They're divided.
Well,
and guess what, Davis? Guess what?
I don't know if that's true.
No, I saw it. I read.
But if you have
You're on mute, Misty.
That's the easy way, Cassandra.
He muted you. Just
Al,
saying.
for doing that.
Look, Miss
Man,
G, tomorrow night you have an assignment. I want you to bring me a link to support what you just said. Okay? It's all over the news. Show me the links.
you
Okay?
muted me? When did you mute me?
I don't know. I don't know what Cassandra's talking about.
Cassandra,
folks-
how long was I talking?
Well, folks, I
About
want to
30.
wrap up.
It wasn't very
How
long.
long was I talking? How long was I talking?
It wasn't very long. It was like 30 seconds.
I want to thank everybody for watching tonight. I want to thank you, Miss G, and you, Miss Cassandra, for joining me as my co-hosts. And we'll see everyone tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Pacific time for another one of our shows. All right, everyone. Good night, all.